Hello everyone, and welcome back to our next video. In this video, we're going to be discussing how we can get along better with our bosses. So if you're coming to the United States for the first time, you may be wondering, how can I handle the relationship with my boss, and how is that going to be different with the relationships that I've had with my bosses and managers in my home country? Well, basically, there are a lot of similarities. The relationship with your boss is going to be the most important relationship that you will have for your success and your career, not to mention the relationships that you will also have with your coworkers. So when it comes to your boss, the good news that you need to remember is that you are the one who is in charge of that relationship ultimately. So bosses come in a variety of different skill levels, and some bosses are just plain bad. Like you don't want to work for them. They may treat you not the way you want to be treated, and they're unaware of your needs. And then there are others who will view you as, somebody that you give and take with, and they actually view you as an equal, as a partner. And managing bosses, it can be a challenge, but it is worth your time if you expect to be successful and to gain the kind of life that you hope to gain by moving to the United States. So, how do we develop an effective relationship with our boss? So here are some tips that I believe will help you in forging that relationship and helping it to improve. So first and foremost, you need to remember that all relationships are built on trust. So your relationship with your boss is going to be no exception for that. So the thing that you need to remember is that you need to do what you say you're going to do at all times. So if your boss expects you to complete a project by Friday, and you say, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, I'm going to finish that project by Friday, you need to make sure that you actually finish the project by Friday. So establish that level of trust with your boss by doing what you say it is that you're going to do. And also be sure to keep your boss informed at all times about timelines that you have and dates that you have coming up. You never want, the key for that is you never want your boss to be surprised by problems that have come up unexpectedly and that you did not communicate with them. So make sure that you're always communicating with your boss, telling them about changes and plans, and having no surprises come up. Also, this one may be a little bit tough to hear, but you also have to put the needs of your boss first. Of course, we all know that there's more to life than working, but you have to learn how you can help him or her. What are the boss's priorities? What would success look like with the department and the company? What is it that you can do to help out to make things better and easier for your boss? So think about what their needs are, and then think about a way in which you can help them achieve those needs easier, more quickly, and more effectively. And that will definitely go over well with your boss and help to establish that very successful relationship with them. Another thing that is very important, especially in the American work environment, is that if you make a mistake, and hopefully you don't make a mistake on any big assignment or big project, but if you do make a mistake, you always have to be sure to admit that mistake right away. That will be usually, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, unless you have a very, very not so nice boss, which hopefully you don't have. But 9 times out of 10, your boss is going to commend you for speaking up and admitting that you've made that error, and then admitting that you're not going to make it again, and you have a strategy in place to ensure that you're going to deliver better results next time. That goes over quite very well with bosses, definitely. Another thing that is very important to remember is that you want to try and get to know your boss as a person. So I'm not saying that you have to ask them out for a drink after work, but when you see them in the hallway, or when you see them and you have a meeting with them maybe afterwards, just ask about their weekend. What are they doing? What kinds of activities have they been up to? This helps you to get to know your boss as a human being a little bit more, and it gets you to kind of establish that empathy with them. So they're not this big, huge, hulking figure in the background. They're just another human being, just like you and me, and that helps you to relate to them a lot better. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is that you need to focus on the best parts of your boss. This is especially true if you have a boss who you may not like, who treats you badly, and you just don't like them. The key is to always focus on the best parts of them. Each boss has some good and bad attributes. So if you're only focusing on the bad things about your boss, it's going to cloud your happiness, which will in turn cloud your judgment at work, and that will ultimately, if you let it go on, it will lead to poor results in your work, and you do not want that at all. So focus on the best parts of your boss, and if you can, try to find a way to make your boss feel valued. This goes back to point number 2, where we talked about trying to make your boss's life easier, finding a way in which you can help him or her achieve their objectives more quickly and more efficiently. That's going to help your boss feel valued, definitely. One of the really important things to remember is that your boss is never going to change. So you may stamp your feet and hoot and holler about how bad your boss is, but the fact of the matter is you're not going to change them. They're not going to change their character, because who they are has helped them get to where they are right now. Their character, like it or not, has helped them to get to the position that they're in. So it's obviously working for them. So they're not going to change. So you have to accept that, and you can't let their past actions get you down, because again, as we said before, that's going to affect your happiness, that's going to affect your productivity, and that will ultimately lead to poor results, and that is not what you want in the workplace. So the more you understand their preferences and their style of work, the better you will be able to work with your boss. And I think that's true anywhere you go, not just here in the United States, but anywhere there are bosses, you're going to run into issues like that. Another thing that bosses, especially here in America, definitely value is they value it when you listen and you learn from them. So there are going to be days when you doubt that there is anything you can learn from them, and that may be true, it may be not, but the fact is that the company found many good things about their work and what they did and their business style, and there was a reason that they were promoted to that current position. So whether you agree with their style or not, the fact of the matter is you do have to respect it, because they are your boss, they sign your checks. So promotions are usually earned, okay? And as a consequence of delivering results and successful contributions to the company. So in some countries, bosses may be given a promotion based on seniority, the number of years that they've worked. It may be due to, this person's related to this person, so they're automatically going to be advanced in the company. Here in the United States, most of the promotions come as a result of merit, which means that it's based on the amount of work you do and whether or not you're doing your job well or not. Yes, of course, there are some examples of when a boss who's related to a higher up is going to get promoted. That definitely happens, but for the most part, it's based on merit. It's based on how well you do your job. So that is what determines whether or not somebody gets promoted. So if a boss is in a current position, that means that they got there because they worked hard and they did things that were valuable to the company. So it is in your best interest to listen to them, listen more than you speak, to develop a successful relationship. Now, sometimes genuine disagreements do occur. That is going to happen. But the key to remember is to not hold a grudge about it. Because after all, there's nothing, as we said before, there's nothing you can do to change your boss's attitude, right? Don't make threats about leaving. Disagreement is fine, but discord is not. So you are unlikely to always get your way. And after all, your boss has a lot more authority than you do. So if you are really going to be a problem, it is possible that they will eventually terminate you. So you have to keep that in mind. In some countries, for example, lifetime employment is still a very big thing. And it doesn't really matter if you have a disagreement with your boss because of the lifetime employment expectation, you're always going to be at that one job. But here in the United States, lifetime employment is not, it doesn't really happen all that much anymore, unless you're in a small family business and you happen to be a member of that family. It doesn't really happen all that much anymore. So in most states, we have what's called right to work, and that means that a boss can pretty much terminate you at any point for any reason. So you really have to be careful that you're developing that strong relationship with your boss, because if you don't, termination is a possibility. So you have to keep that in mind. Another thing to really keep in mind that's very important is to understand your boss's body language, their tone of voice, and their mood. So understand their nonverbal communications. And I'm actually going to be doing a series of videos later on nonverbal communication that I think is really going to help in business and just working together with colleagues and working together with teams. But it is very important to understand your boss's body language and their tone of voice, because that can be helpful in being able to communicate effectively with them. So if you see that your boss is in a bad mood, he's showing body language that indicates that he's upset about something, maybe that's not the best time to go talk to him and, tell him about your latest problem or your latest complaint, because that can compound on his already feeling bad, and he could end up taking it out on you, or she could end up taking it out on you, and that could cause more problems than there needs to be. So understand the body language, and that will help you also to create a much more powerful relationship with your employer. Also keep in mind that your boss is a very busy person, and it's best to schedule things, schedule meetings, schedule times to talk with them. I know that in some countries, in some cultures, it's very it's very normal to just go into your boss's office spontaneously and just start talking to them about certain things. But here in the States, bosses value their time, so you have to really learn to schedule things ahead of time with your boss, so that you have some time to actually sit down with them and you're not taking them by surprise. So that's another very important thing to remember. And the last thing that has helped me in terms of my employment is, have your boss play the role of a coach or a mentor. Always ask them for feedback, and be honest. If you're giving a presentation, or if you're giving a talk to a bunch of your colleagues and a bunch of your fellow employees, ask your boss for feedback at the end. The boss can't read your mind. So if you go to their office and literally say, hey, what did you think about that presentation? What did you think about that talk that I gave today? And your boss will most likely give you very direct and honest feedback that you can use to not only help better yourself as an employee, but also to help better your relationship with them. Because if your boss sees that you're going to them for advice, that helps him or her to feel that, hey, you value their opinion, and that's going to raise their thinking of you in their eyes. So that's also going to help forge a very strong relationship with your boss. So hopefully you found these tips very useful, and as always, have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you back again in the next video. Take care.